This is the Twin City News Around Town. A closer look at the people, places, and events around Batesburg-Leesville, Gilbert, and the Ridge. Presented by the Twin City News, Batesburg-Leesville's community journalism since 1925. Now, here's your editor of the Twin City News, Tony Bauman.
Welcome into this edition of Twin City News Around Town. I'm Tony Bauman, and this is our election preview edition, another one where we talk to one of the candidates on the ballot for the November 5th general election for Batesburg-Leesville Town Council. And I am here with one of the candidates offering for the District 8 seat on Town Council, ERIC GAMBRELL. Mr. GAMBRELL, thanks for visiting.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's first off, let's take about 2 minutes, if you want to, look right into the camera and introduce yourself to the readers of the Twin City News.
Good afternoon. ERIC GAMBRELL, moved here in 1992, enjoyed it, went off to college, was educated, moved back, brought my family here, and something I'm really looking forward to is contributing more in a different way. So excited about this opportunity.
Well, let's jump into the questions. We're asking the same 5 questions, generally speaking, to all of our candidates. And, of course, one of the most talked about issues of this past year and more has been the hospitality tax, 2 cents on every dollar on prepared food and beverages served by Batesburg-Leesville merchants, money that under state law must be spent on tourism-related projects. Town Council has allocated the first of those dollars, $48,500 for Christmas decorations, $80,000 for entry signs, and a $5 budget item to promote town events. What do you believe is the best use for the ongoing hospitality tax revenue?
Well, ideally, any tax that comes from the people needs to go back to the people. So looking at that, there's not one specific thing that our town cannot benefit from in some way. So anywhere we use that money to give back to the people, and there are a lot of stipulations, and that's one thing that having to understand. You know, it's easy to say we should just spend it here, spend it there, but understanding exactly where you can spend it and how that money can be spent is important. I would love to see a surplus be created. I don't know honestly if that's possible, but once that surplus is created, hopefully we could borrow off of that in the future if that is allowable. But that's a good idea. It's worked in a lot of situations I've been in, being able to build a surplus, but I think in this situation you really have to spend that money as quick as it comes in. So,
economic opportunity is a hot topic for pretty much everybody, and certainly here in Batesburg-Leesville, attracting more and better job opportunities, new investment by companies in the town, and particularly out of the industrial park, which has had one tenant for some time now, with 2 more on the way. What do you believe Town Council can do to improve the climate for economic opportunity in Batesburg-Leesville? Well,
I think council understanding the most important of a town council is knowing the role that you serve. In Batesburg-Leesville, we're a council manager form of government, and understanding that you simply are a vote for whether it be policy or any type of law that be put in place. Also knowing that hiring and firing the town manager is a part of that. I believe we have a very good town manager and backing him as best as we can, and making sure that the opportunity that comes in this community is number one based for the people that are already here. So it's one of the things in our school system. We are trying to produce the best citizen as possible, whether it be college bound, career bound, or armed forces. We are trying to produce that student that will one day stay and stay in this community and be proud to be here. So giving an opportunity for the current residents, I believe, is number one priority, and trying to figure out what we can do with what we have now.
Public safety is always a huge concern for the citizenry in any community. Batesburg-Leesville is geographically a fairly spread out area, 2 distinct downtown districts, smaller neighborhoods surrounding. Recently there was a double murder in town, sadly, and some indication of gang activity prior to that, centered around a series of automobile break-ins. What do you believe the town and town council can do to better ensure public safety in Batesburg-Leesville?
Before I speak as a council member, I'm going to speak as a community member. The most important thing we can do is number one, make sure yourself, you're doing the correct thing, and make sure your immediate family is doing the correct thing, and be accountable for the ones that are around you. I think a lot of times we miss out on that. We've grown into an age where we see something happen and we don't do anything. So, especially I'm going to keep referring back to the school system. That's what I'm familiar with. But when we teach our students, I'm very proud that our students are the first ones to come to us when they see something that's going wrong or even stopping it themselves. So that's one of the first things we can do is be responsible for ourselves. Now, moving on to council. In a form of council, you want to make sure you're giving the opportunity for the manager to run the government, the city, or the town the best way possible, and by allowing him to do his job. Many times, Urban Myers is the one I heard say the quote, "If you're not part of the solution, you are the problem." So I think a lot of times people not understanding their role. Your role as a council member is to be there and to be that vote on policy, and it also is to support and not to interfere. I think being transparent as a council member and not having any type of personal agenda is very important as well. So if we can, in our role, give everything we can give to the manager so he can do his job and he can pass that down to Chief Wallace so he's able to do his. So I think that's the biggest thing as a council member we can do.
One topic that has been on the drawing board here in this town for a decade or more is water. Batesburg-Leesville has an aging water system. Residential and commercial growth, of course, creates demand for water. And the town of Batesburg-Leesville really has to be ready to meet that demand as growth happens. Not too long ago, Saluda County Water and Sewer opened up a state-of-the-art facility about a dozen miles up the road. And then you've got Gilbert Summit Water System, Joint Water and Sewer Authority, other players in this water game. What do you see as the future of water services in Batesburg-Leesville?
Well, before we can go forward, let's go backwards. There has been a water problem in our community, and we're very aware of that. It's made public news, maybe not some that we want, but it's been out there. And, we have to find a solution. The worst thing you can do is nothing. And unfortunately, in the last decade, that's exactly what we've done is nothing. Not being able to come to an agreement, finding that solution so we can move forward, trusting the people that are professionals in this area. I am definitely not a professional in the water management field, so reaching out, getting those opinions, which we already have, and moving forward in some type of way. Once again, it's one vote that you have, and being that one vote and working towards a solution.
One last thing. Anyone who attends one of the town council monthly meetings is apt at any given time to perhaps see a lapse or two of order. At times that, in my opinion, council meetings have gotten derailed by sidebars and squabbles and extraneous conversation. Your thoughts on that, generally speaking?
I'll start off by saying I'm not a politician, so this might not sound like the best answer. I don't know what if there is a best answer. But I know in my career, being an educator, you come across students, adults, and a lot of people that, especially as administrator, that don't agree with the decision you've made, and trying to reach a peaceful point. Big picture is what I always try to turn to professionally, and at the end of the day, as an educator, what's the most important thing for the student? We're always putting the student first. As a council member, what's the most important thing for your constituents in your district? So District 8 is not a very large district in terms of population. So getting to know what the constituents want in that area and speaking for them, being a true statesman. So that's probably the most important thing. Unfortunately, people are very strong-minded in their opinions and don't want to change and want to voice what they believe, and that's great. They can have that opportunity, but at the end of the day, we have to come to a solution. And many times, people just enjoy being the problem. So if we can't have a solution, you are the problem. It goes back to that quote, again, from Urban Meyer.
Well, take about a minute. Your final thoughts, speaking directly to the voters of Batesburg-Leesville.
The biggest thing, I know this is not a presidential election. It's also not a governor election. So, voter apathy is a big thing. Not a lot of people, I'm not even getting off from work. The school system won't be off from work. So just get out and vote. I would love to have all the votes from District 8, but at the same time, just get out and vote, and whoever you feel is the best candidate, please do that.
Eric Gambrell, one of your candidates for Council District 8. Thank you so much for coming by. I surely appreciate it. And
appreciate you having me.
And we will, that is this edition of Twin City News Around Town. I'm Tony Bauman, your editor, and I want to encourage you to go out on Tuesday, November 5th to cast your ballot for your chosen candidate for Batesburg-Leesville Town Council. Thank you for watching. I'll see you out there on the streets.
This has been the Twin City News Around Town. If you have a story idea for a future edition, call us at 803-532-6203 or email us at editor@twin-citynews.com. Thank you for listening and reading the Twin City News, Batesburg-Leesville's community journalism since 1925.